Well, now we had we spoke about with Edgar social lending, Mick with subprime, and now we're back with Dominique to the banks. And we do know that, in fact, even though they're not supposed to be used this way, people do use overdrafts as a form of credit. And so we're going to ask you about how should bankers, is this the question you're thinking you're going to speak about? Bankers? Because we had the wrong one. Just to make sure that we're going to talk about how banks, how banks should deal with or kind of respond to low-income customers who are using overdrafts as a form of credit.
Oui, il y a deux parties dans ma réponse.
Well, there are two parts to my answer. Firstly, if a borrower is in difficulty and can't reimburse the loan, then the bank would contact that person and try to set them on the right path so that they can pay back the loan. And what I've seen in the Banque Postale, well, we've introduced a system to help people in difficulty to set their affairs in order, and we have a unit which detects weak points, identifies people who want to reorganize their loan or alleviate the burden of the debt. So there might be a particular financial difficulty that a person has run into when they can't reimburse their loan. So there's a big association in France which helps people with bad debts, with heavy debts, and the idea is to help the customer to find a solution that suits everyone. So that's the first approach, and I've seen that other financial establishments have been developed as well, and this really harks back to the whole idea of support, helping a particular person, having a third party do that. In specific situations, this can make sense. This can be a major benefit. And the second part of my response is on overdrafts. Well, an overdraft facility allows a person to have a kind of buffer. But of course, there are strict rules to that activity of having an overdraft. And there's a kind of situation of peaks and troughs with the level of debt. Various things here. Obviously, this generates cost. The bank can either accept this situation if a person has an overdraft or not, and charges that might be involved, fees might be charged. And sometimes if an overdraft is rejected, so you might, the bank might collect 10 or 20 euros for a person with an overdraft, but the person might also run into trouble with their direct debit. So it's a bit of a vicious circle. And we're just adding to people's difficulties potentially. And for a number of months, we've been carrying out an experiment in order to try to react differently to this situation. And we've been experimenting with showing a bit more discernment and not just charging fees automatically, and trying to help the person involved, provide support. And just one last thing. Overdrafts can have a devastating effect, and if someone is in particular difficulty, someone might have an overdraft of 800 euros, and the bank could just cuts them off, and they might be asked to reimburse their overdraft immediately. And now we're trying to progressively reduce the overdraft with the help of a support body. So the idea would be to draw up a 3-month or a 4-month reduction plan. So you would reduce the overdraft by 200 euros a month until it goes down to 0. So just a few thoughts from me on this. Thank you.
That's very, very interesting. And I think the issue of bank charges on overdrafts, for example, which hits low-income consumers often very hard, relates very much to the discussion we had in panel 1 around whether banks should charge for bank accounts anyway, because there is this thought that giving free banking, which is we have in the UK, everybody's used to free banking, talk about having to pay a monthly charge and people throw their hands up in horror, but actually, where are the banks getting their income from? From the charges, which are often not managed as supportively as the Banque de la Poste.
En France, il faut savoir que à peu près
entre 5 et 8% between 5 and 18% of turnover for banks is generated by these people who are in dire straits, who are in difficulty. This is a 5 to 18% of the overall turnover for banks.
One discussion that free banking leads to even greater misery than just thinking, well, they're getting it free this week or for the month.